The first thing I learned that night was that pain could be loud. The second thing I learned was that loneliness could be louder. I was sitting on the cold floor of my apartment bathroom, my back pressed against the cabinet, my right wrist swelling rapidly beneath my sleeve. I had slipped on the wet floor. 1 second, I had been reaching for a towel. The next, I was on the ground, staring at my hand and trying not to scream. My fingers were shaking. My breathing was uneven. And the first person I thought of was him. Ethan. I grabbed my phone with my left hand and called him. He didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. Then I texted him. Mia, Ethan, please call me. I fell. I think I broke my wrist. 3 minutes passed. Then 5. Then 10. Finally, my phone lit up. Ethan, I'm in the middle of something. Is it really that bad? I stared at the message. I couldn't believe it. My eyes burned with tears. Mia, I think it is. I can't move my hand. His reply came almost immediately. Ethan, go to urgent care. I'll call you later. I swallowed hard. Okay. I whispered. That was it. No, are you okay? No, do you need me? No, I'm coming. I'm busy. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Carter, who drove me to the emergency room. The doctor confirmed a fracture, a cast wrapped around my wrist. As I sat alone beneath the harsh hospital lights, I kept checking my phone. Ethan didn't call. At midnight, I finally sent him a picture of my cast. Mia, it's broken. His response arrived almost an hour later. Ethan, oh wow. I'm sorry. Get some rest. We'll talk tomorrow. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. I had spent 2 years believing Ethan was busy because he was ambitious. He was building a career. He had meetings, deadlines, clients, travel, responsibilities. And I had always been the understanding girlfriend. When he canceled dinner, I said it was okay. When he forgot our anniversary dinner, I told myself work was stressful. When he missed my birthday because of a last-minute emergency, I smiled and told him I understood. But tonight was different. Tonight I was hurt. And somehow, he still couldn't make time. I didn't know it yet, but that broken bone was going to break something else too. My habit of chasing him. The next morning, Ethan finally called. Hey, he said casually. I sat on my couch, my injured arm resting on a pillow. Hey, how's the wrist? Broken. I know. I mean, how bad is it? I looked down at the cast. Bad enough that I can't use my right hand. He sighed. I have a huge meeting in 20 minutes. There was again. Busy. Always busy. I know. I said quietly. Don't sound upset. I'm not. You are. I'm just tired. I'll come by this weekend. It was Wednesday. I looked at the clock. Today is Wednesday. I know. So you'll come in 3 days? Mia, don't start. I closed my eyes. That sentence hurt more than my wrist. I'm not starting anything. Good. Because I really don't have time for drama right now. Drama. I slowly lowered the phone. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if I stopped explaining myself. What if I stopped asking? What if I stopped calling? What if I stopped waiting? Okay, I said. Ethan seemed relieved. Good. I'll call you later. He hung up. I stared at my phone, and something inside me became strangely quiet. I didn't know that Ethan would soon become terrified of that silence. The first day, I didn't call Ethan. I expected him to notice. He didn't. The second day, I expected him to ask why I wasn't texting. Nothing. By Friday, I had stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. It felt strange, almost peaceful. Mrs. Carter brought groceries to my apartment because I couldn't carry much with one hand. She looked at my cast and frowned. Where's your boyfriend? I smiled faintly. Busy. She didn't ask anything else. Maybe she understood. That evening, Ethan sent me a message. Ethan, how are you feeling? I stared at it. Normally, I would have replied immediately. Instead, I placed the phone down. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then an hour. Finally, I answered. Mia, better. He responded. Ethan, good. That was all. I laughed softly. Not because it was funny. Because it was ridiculous. I had been expecting some dramatic realization. Some desperate concern. But Ethan wasn't even noticing that I had changed. So I changed more. I stopped sending him good morning texts. I stopped asking how his meetings went. I stopped reminding him to eat. I stopped sending him pictures of things that reminded me of him. I stopped telling him about my day. And most importantly, I stopped asking when he was coming over. On Saturday morning, Ethan finally appeared. He stood outside my apartment holding a small paper bag. Hey. I looked at him. Hey. He stepped inside. Brought you coffee. I glanced at the cup. Thanks. He looked around. You seem okay. I am. Your wrist. Still broken. He laughed. I didn't. His smile faded. What? Nothing. He dropped on a couch. I've had the worst week. I nodded. I'm sorry. He looked at me. You're not going to ask? Ask what? What's wrong? I shrugged. You're busy. His eyebrows pulled together. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Mia. I looked at him. For years, I had tried to make Ethan comfortable. Now I was tired of making everything comfortable. I don't want to fight. Neither do I. Then don't. He stared at me. Something about my tone unsettled him. He stayed for 40 minutes. Then he left, and I didn't stop him. That night, he texted me. Ethan, you were weird today. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, Ethan called. I let it ring. He called again. I ignored it. Then again. By the fourth call, I stared at the screen. Ethan calling. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. And Ethan? He was beginning to feel something he wasn't used to. Uncertainty. By Monday, Ethan had called me 7 times. I knew because my phone showed 7 missed calls. I didn't call back. Instead, I went to my follow-up appointment alone. The doctor examined my wrist. It's healing well. That's good. You'll need to keep resting it. I nodded. When I left the hospital, I saw Ethan's car parked across the street. I froze. He stepped out. Mia. My heart jumped. What are you doing here? You had an appointment. How did you know? You mentioned it last week. I stared at him. He remembered. Interesting. I could drive you home. I'm okay. Mia. I said I'm okay. His jaw tightened. You've barely spoken to me for 4 days. I looked at him. You were busy. That doesn't mean you disappear. A strange laugh escaped me. I didn't disappear. I just stopped chasing you. His face changed. What? You heard me. I don't understand. Yes, you do. I walked past him. He followed. Mia, wait. I stopped. He looked genuinely frustrated. Why are you acting like this? Like what? Cold. I stared at him. I broke my bone. His expression softened. I know. I called you. I know. I told you I was scared. I know. And you told me to go to urgent care because you were busy. He looked away. I was in the middle of an important meeting. I know. I couldn't just leave. I know. Then what's the problem? I looked directly into his eyes. The problem is that you keep thinking the issue is whether you were technically allowed to be busy. He said nothing. The issue is that I needed you. His face went still. And you weren't there. I came Saturday. After 3 days. I told you I was busy. Exactly. I walked away. He didn't follow this time. That evening, he sent a long message. Ethan, I don't want you to think I don't care about you. I read it twice. Then replied, Mia, I don't think you don't care. 3 dots appeared. Ethan, then what? I stared at the screen. Mia, I think you care when it's convenient. He called immediately. I didn't answer. Another call. I ignored it. A third. Still nothing. Then a message. Ethan, please pick up. I looked at those words for a long time. For years, I had begged him for the smallest amount of attention. Now he was begging for mine. And somehow, that didn't make me happy. It made me sad, because I realized I had never wanted him to panic. I had only wanted him to care. Ethan changed after that conversation. Not dramatically, not overnight, but enough for me to notice. He started texting me in the morning. Ethan, how's your wrist today? Then, Ethan, did you eat? Then, Ethan, need anything? At first, I answered. Then I stopped. Not to punish him. I simply didn't know what to say anymore. One afternoon, someone knocked on my door. It was Ethan. He was holding grocery bags. I bought food. I stared at him. Why? Because you can't cook properly with one hand. I almost smiled. That's true. He stepped inside. For the first time, he didn't look at his phone. He put the groceries away. Then he noticed a box on the floor. What's that? My work. Work? I've been doing freelance projects. He looked surprised. You're working with a broken wrist? Left hand still works. Why didn't you tell me? I shrugged. You were busy. His face fell. Again, that word had become a mirror. He finally understood that every time I said it, I wasn't mocking him. I was repeating the excuse he'd taught me to accept. I deserve that, he whispered. I looked at him. What? That? He sat down. Mia, I'm sorry. I didn't answer. He continued. I thought because you understood my work, you didn't need me to explain myself. That wasn't a problem. I know. No, Ethan. I don't think you do. He looked at me. I didn't need you to solve anything. I needed you to show up. His eyes lowered. I should have come to the hospital. Yes. I should have taken you home. Yes. I should have stayed. Yes. He nodded. I know. Something in his voice almost broke me. But I couldn't let one apology erase 2 years. I'm glad you understand now. He looked at me. Can I fix it? I swallowed. I don't know. That answer terrified him. I could see it. Before my injury, he had always assumed I would be there. Now he wasn't sure. And suddenly, he had to face the possibility that love could disappear quietly. Not with betrayal. Not with screaming. Not with another person. Sometimes, love disappeared because one person got tired of asking the other to care. 2 weeks later, my wrist was healing. My relationship wasn't. Ethan had started showing up more. He brought dinner. He drove me to appointments. He called. He listened. But something had changed inside me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was detached. That frightened him more than anger ever could. One Friday night, I went out with my friend Lily. We had dinner at a small restaurant downtown. I didn't tell Ethan. Not because I was hiding anything. I simply didn't think I had to report my life anymore. At 9:30, Ethan texted. Ethan, what are you doing? I didn't answer. At 9:45, Ethan, Mia? At 10 o'clock. Ethan, are you okay? At 10:15, Ethan called. I ignored it. Lily looked at my phone. Boyfriend? Yes. Trouble? I smiled. Complicated. At 10:40, Ethan called again. Then again. Then again. When I finally turned my phone over, I saw 11 missed calls. My stomach tightened. I called him. He answered immediately. Where are you? His voice was breathless. I frowned. Dinner. With who? Lily. Why didn't you tell me? I stared at the phone. Why would I? Silence. Then, because I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. I was eating. Mia, I thought something happened. I'm fine. You weren't answering. I don't have to answer immediately. I know that. Then why are you angry? I'm not angry. He sounded terrified. I became quiet. He took a breath. I called your apartment. My eyes widened. What? I thought you were home. Ethan, I didn't know where you were. And that scared you? Yes. His answer was immediate. Something about it made my heart ache. Now you know how it feels. Silence. He knew exactly what I meant. When you broke your bone, he whispered, you couldn't reach me. I didn't say anything. And now I couldn't reach you. Exactly. He exhaled. Mia, I hate this. What? Not knowing. I looked down. That's what you gave me. I know. His voice cracked slightly. I know. I closed my eyes. He wasn't angry anymore. He was afraid. Not because I had done anything wrong. Because he was finally experiencing what it felt like to love someone who could choose not to reach back. After that night, Ethan became different. He wasn't simply attentive. He was afraid. One evening, he came over and sat beside me. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you still in love with me? My heart sank. Why would you ask that? Because you don't look at me the same way. I looked away. He wasn't wrong. I don't know. His face fell. You don't know? I love you. That isn't the same answer. No. He waited. I sighed. I love who I thought you were. He stared at me. And who am I now? I don't know. He leaned back. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said quietly, I thought you'd always be there. I looked at him. That was the problem. He swallowed. I never imagined losing you. You should have. His eyes met mine. Why? Because when you assume someone will always stay, you stop treating their presence like something precious. He looked down. I could see the guilt in his face. Did I make you feel alone? Yes. Even before the injury? I nodded. He closed his eyes. That hurts. It should. He looked at me again. Tell me everything. So I did. I told him about my birthday. The canceled dinners. The forgotten plans. The nights I waited for him. The times I needed him and told myself I was being needy. Every moment I had swallowed my disappointment because I loved him. By the end, Ethan's eyes were wet. I didn't know. You didn't ask. That sentence destroyed him. He covered his face with his hands. I was so stupid. I didn't comfort him. Not because I didn't care, because this time he needed to sit with the consequences. After several minutes, he looked up. What do you want? I took a deep breath. I want a relationship where I don't have to get hurt before you notice me. His eyes filled with tears. I can give you that. You can't promise that. Then I'll prove it. I stared at him. He reached for my hand, but stopped before touching me. Can I? I hesitated. Then I gave him my hand. He held it gently. For the first time, his touch didn't feel like something I'd been waiting for. It felt like something he was finally grateful to have. My cast came off 3 weeks later. Ethan was there. This time, he didn't have a meeting. He didn't have somewhere else to be. He sat beside me while the doctor removed the cast. When my wrist was finally free, I stared at it. It felt strange, weak, different, but healed. The doctor smiled. Take it easy for a while. I nodded. Outside the hospital, Ethan held the door open for me. Want to get lunch? I looked at him. Are you sure you don't have work? He smiled sadly. I have work. My eyebrows lifted. But I'm not going to use it as an excuse to make you feel unimportant. That answer surprised me. We went to a quiet restaurant. Halfway through lunch, Ethan placed something on the table. A small box. I stared at it. What is that? Open it. Inside was a simple silver bracelet. Engraved on the inside were 4 words. You never have to chase me. My eyes filled with tears. Ethan, I know it's not enough. No. I know I can't erase what happened. No. I just want you to know I've finally understood. I touched the bracelet. Understanding isn't the same as changing. I know. He looked directly at me. That's why I'm not asking you to trust me today. I froze. What are you asking? Nothing. He smiled faintly. I'm just going to show you. And he did. Not with expensive gifts. Not with dramatic promises. With little things. He remembered my appointments. He asked before making plans. He called when he said he would. He listened when I spoke. And when work became overwhelming, he communicated instead of disappearing. One night, I asked him why he had changed so much. He looked at me. Because I almost lost you. You didn't. I almost lost the version of you who believed I would always come back. That sentence stayed with me. Because he was right. I had changed. I wasn't the woman who would wait indefinitely anymore. I wasn't the woman who would excuse everything because she loved him. I wasn't the woman who believed love meant accepting loneliness. Ethan hadn't simply needed to become a better boyfriend. I had needed to become better at protecting my own heart. 6 months later, I fell again. Not literally. Emotionally. It was a terrible day at work. A project I'd spent months building collapsed because of someone else's mistake. I came home exhausted. I sat on the floor beside my bed and cried. Olmi would have called Ethan immediately. Then I remembered the woman I used to be. The woman who called. Waited. Explained. Begged. I almost reached for my phone. Then I stopped. Not because I wanted to test him. Because I didn't need to test him anymore. My phone rang. Ethan. I stared at the screen. I answered. Hey. Hey. His voice was warm. How was your day? I hesitated. Bad. Silence. Then, do you want me to come over? I closed my eyes. 6 months ago, that question would have felt impossible. Are you busy? He laughed softly. I have work. I smiled. But yes, I'm coming. Ethan, you don't have to. I know. There was a pause. I want to. 20 minutes later, he was standing at my door. He didn't bring flowers. He didn't bring gifts. He just came. He sat beside me on the floor. What happened? I told him. He listened. When I finished, he didn't immediately give me advice. He just put his arm around me. I leaned against him, and suddenly I realized something. The injury had never really been about my wrist. It had been about what happened when I needed someone and discovered they weren't there. That night, Ethan had taught me that I was alone. But the months afterward had taught him something too. People don't always leave because they stop loving you. Sometimes they leave because they become exhausted from loving you alone. Ethan kissed my forehead. You okay? I smiled. I'm getting there. He looked at me. I'll stay. I laughed. You don't have to say that. I know. He squeezed my hand. I just want you to know. I looked down at the silver bracelet on my wrist. The engraving was still there. You never have to chase me. I smiled. You know what? What? I think breaking my wrist was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me. Ethan frowned. That's a terrible way to describe it. I laughed. Listen. He waited. It showed me what I deserved. His expression softened. And what did you deserve? I looked at him. Someone who shows up. He nodded. And now? I smiled. Now I have someone who does. Ethan pulled me closer. I was never too busy to love you. I raised an eyebrow. You were pretty bad at showing it. He laughed. I know. And I was pretty bad at asking for what I needed. Maybe we were both idiots. Definitely. We laughed. Then he became serious. Mia, yeah. If you ever feel alone again, don't disappear. I looked at him. Why? Because I want the chance to show up. My heart softened. And if you're busy? He smiled. I'll tell you I'm busy. I waited. But I'll never make you feel like you're not important. That was the difference. He didn't promise to never be busy. He promised to never use being busy as an excuse to stop caring. And I didn't promise to never need him. I promised myself that I would never again confuse love with begging someone to notice me. My wrist had healed months ago, but the lesson stayed. Sometimes, the person you love doesn't realize how close they are to losing you until you stop chasing them. And sometimes, your silence isn't revenge. It's simply the moment you finally choose yourself. Ethan wasn't too busy anymore, and I wasn't waiting anymore. We were finally meeting each other halfway,